Basically, you pay to be a member of the union. Payroll takes a percentage of your pay right off your check, so you don't actually miss the money because you never see it, and it's not a lot. That's called paying your dues. A lot of that money goes directly to the national union, who is there to oversee all of the locals. And they also cover our strike pay in the event that we ever went on a strike. It hasn't happened yet with QP 4580. Okay, so your executive board, as I said, I am the president. We have our vice president, Alicia DiCarlo. Her job is kind of to fill in for me whenever I'm absent from my duties. We have a treasurer position that is currently vacant. Nobody ran for it this last March, so I am currently covering that job as well. But that will be going up for election in October, if anybody's interested. Our recording secretary is Behzad Belandi, so he keeps the minutes from all of our meetings, keeps an eye on our mail and some of the communication. Currently, I'm usually the one that watches the email, though. Our membership officer is GATAcademy. She goes by Miriam, and her job is to sit in meetings and make sure that people are attending are actually members and not just strangers off the street. Our stewards right now currently for business admin are Peter Braddock, FAHSS is Noah Berthiaume, engineering is Puya Mohammed Kandi. And we do have some positions available for those as well. There's basically a steward for each department. So again, if this is something that interests you, feel free to reach out. The job of the steward is to receive complaints from our members and approach human resources with those complaints. They're called grievances. If there's a suspected violation of the collective agreement, then it's handled at the steward level first. If it's not resolved at that point, it goes further on to eventually where it's almost like a court hearing, but hopefully, again, that sort of thing never happens. So I'm going to give you a brief history on unionism. The labor movement grew out of the need to protect the common interest of workers. Organized labor unions are there to fight for better wages, reasonable hours, and safe working conditions. And the labor movement also led efforts to stop child labor, give health benefits, and provide aid to workers who are either injured or retired. I'm going to also give you some facts about unionism. So when you compare workers who have a union to those who don't, they earn better wages and benefits, an average of 11.2% higher than the non-unionized workers. And also 96% of union workers have employer-provided health insurance. This is compared to the 69% of non-unionized. This doesn't really apply to us because we get our benefits through the Grad Society, but just, like I said, just some facts that I want to give you about unionism. Unions also help the employers create a more stable, productive workforce. This is because the workers are actually getting a say in improving their jobs and the conditions that they're working under. And they also provide a voice on the job, which is something that money can't buy. A few more facts here. When looking at unionized Black, Latino, and women in general, they're paid 26%, 39.2%, and 23.8% more than non-unionized workers. Men and women are also paid the same for doing the same job, which unfortunately out in the workforce is not always true when you're not unionized. Also, you can't be fired for personal reasons like your sexual orientation or your gender identity. So I think that kind of outlines the fact that the advantage of having a union is even greater for people of color, women, immigrants, and other marginalized groups that face discrimination. And the union contract is a potent weapon against any of this unequal pay and the way you're being treated at work, like structural racism, because it establishes fair systems for hiring and firing, as well as wages and lots of other things, like I said, health and safety and benefits. Okay, so why do you need a union? So your working conditions are set out in what's called the collective agreement. This is the contract between the union and the employer. So the previous slides weren't enough of an explanation, just understanding that you have this contract in place. The employer and the union are both bound by the provisions that are listed within that collective agreement. This is also voted on by the membership, so you, the workers, are the ones deciding what goes into that contract. Not that we always win during negotiations, but usually we make a little bit of headway. Our contract was expired for 2 years, and myself and last year's executive bargained the new collective agreement. Unfortunately, we were stuck under Bill 124. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with that, but basically made it illegal to give more than a 1% raise over 3 years. So if you look at our wages right now compared to inflation, our hands were very much tied during last year's bargaining, but we are going back to the bargaining table this fall, and we're no longer stuck under that Bill 124. So hopefully we can fight for an even better wage. Now, if you think that you've experienced a violation of this collective agreement, please contact a union rep immediately, either the steward for your department, or myself. Also, we are governed under what are called our bylaws, and you can find the bylaws and the collective agreement on the QP 4580 website under the resources tab. And the bylaws are in place to ensure that the executive are doing their job properly, and money is being spent properly, and basically nothing shady is going on. Okay, so what are violations of the collective agreement? This could be a lot of different things like discrimination and harassment. Discrimination and harassment follow the definitions laid out in the Ontario Human Rights Code. Discrimination is defined as distinction, whether intentional or not, based on grounds relating to personal characteristics of an individual or a group, not imposed upon others, or which withholds or limits access to opportunities, benefits, and advantages available to other members of society. Harassment is defined as treatment that abuses the power that one holds over another, or misuses authority, or such treatment has the effect or purpose of offending or demeaning a person, a group of persons, on the basis of creed, age, sex, pregnancy, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, ancestry, place of origin, family status, same-sex partnership, receipt of public assistance, or a record of offenses. I know that's a lot to take in, but basically we want to make sure that everybody is being treated fairly all the time. Other violations could be unwarranted discipline or suspension, assigning duties over your maximum number of hours, or assigning duties that are outside of academia. So maybe asking you to do something personal for a prof, that is not your responsibility. We also take care of things like non-payment of wages or late payment. RGAs were being paid late every single semester for, I think, at least 7 years. And that was something that we brought to the table when we bargained last year and said, we need something in place to prevent this from happening because it was getting ridiculous. And I will go over that workflow with you as well. Violations could also be just health and safety, where you're being asked to do something that isn't a safe technique, perhaps working in the lab or something like that. Okay, I'm going to go over a couple of case studies with everyone to see if you've gotten a grasp so far of what unionism is about. I will read it to you, and then I'm going to pull up a whiteboard, and you are free to write on the whiteboard. You can put something in the chat. You can turn on your mic, again, interrupt me. Okay, so here we go. Case study 1. Simon is a GA in an engineering course at the University of Windsor. On their Form 1, Simon was allotted 40 hours out of the 140 for marking. The other 100 hours have been divided up between holding tutorials, office hours, and proctoring the final exam. Simon has kept careful track of all the hours used for marking and recorded them in a spreadsheet. The professor for the course has had Simon remark the midterm assignment for 25 students 3 different times, as the class average was quite low, and the professor decided they should be more generous with the marking. Simon is now concerned that there will not be enough marking hours left and informs the supervisor of the situation, with only 20 hours left in the contract. The supervisor makes threatening comments and suggests that Simon gets all of the marking done, regardless of the number of hours it will take, and informs Simon that they are still expected to be proctoring the final exam. Is this a violation of the GATA collective agreement, and how should Simon proceed? Like I said, I'm going to share a whiteboard. And again, you're free to put answers in the chat, or maybe if anybody out there isn't too shy, turn your mic and camera on. Nobody has a guess? Oh, yep, violation. More power to Simon. Got something coming up on the whiteboard. Yes, it's a violation and Simon should report it directly. Simon should contact the union rep. Ah, somebody was listening. I'll give it a couple more minutes. Anybody else wants to answer? Our whiteboard's looking a little sparse. Nobody wants to turn their mic on. Okay, well, should definitely be reported to the union rep as profs aren't allowed to approve more hours than what's in the contract. That's absolutely correct. So you're all right. Yes, this is a violation. Actually, this is leading to a violation because Simon has not yet gone over the hours, but we are expected to let the prof know if there are only 20 hours left from our Form 1 breakdown, which I'll explain a little better, which they've done in this case study. And this case study actually came from a true story of a member. However, the name was changed and I tweaked it a little bit. But yeah, absolutely, the profs are not allowed to approve that, and they can't force you to work more than your time. So in the circumstance that more hours would be needed, there is a clause in our collective agreement for overtime pay. It never happens because what they end up doing is kind of shuffling people around to finish up the hours and get all the marking done. But yeah, even the fact that the prof is using kind of threatening language and telling Simon, you better do this, that's also a violation because of harassment. So yeah, great job, everybody. I've got another case study for you. I just have to get to the right slide. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Case study 2. Anya is a PhD student and a GA in the Biological Sciences Department. Anya's PhD supervisor has asked that they be in the lab every weekday when not busy with GA duties. As the semester progresses, it seems that Anya is seeing the supervisor more often in the lab and receiving more communication from the supervisor than they feel is necessary, to the extent that text messages are received daily from the supervisor that have nothing to do with lab work. The supervisor also talks about their home life in the lab and asks Anya very personal questions. Anya is starting to feel uncomfortable with the situation, but continues to respond, as some students have close personal friendships with their supervisor, and Anya does not want to create any issues at school. One day when Anya has done lab work particularly early, the supervisor suggests that Anya come back to their house and help out with some things they need done there. When Anya tries to refuse, the supervisor becomes irritated and explains that part of Anya's job is to do whatever the supervisor asks. Is this a violation of the GATA collective agreement, and how should Anya proceed? And again, I will put up a whiteboard. Oh, we got lots of stuff coming up in the chat already. That's awesome. Okay, violation. Oh, you guys are going too fast. Harassment should contact rep. It is a sexual harassment, definitely a violation. Harassment, definitely. This is a violation and harassment needs to be reported. Yes, because the prof is asking her personal questions and to do stuff that are not related. Yes, violation. Asking to do tasks beyond academic related work. You guys really are listening. This is awesome. Report it to someone, HR maybe. That I'm so glad whoever that was said that, because this is a violation of personal rights, but it is not a violation of our collective agreement, because in this instance, the case study I've used is the student is working as under the prof that for their PhD, sorry. So this is not a GA role. Therefore, there's nothing that our collective agreement could do about it. But the university itself has a very strict harassment policy. So yeah, they would have to report this to HR. However, if the student came to me, I would direct them to where to go. I wouldn't just say it's not a QP 4580 violation, so I can't help you. I would suggest they get a hold of an ombudsperson through grad studies, and also go to HR if they're comfortable enough. If they're not comfortable with that, the ombudsperson can go to HR for them. So I kind of tried to trick you guys on that one, but you're right. Just not a QP 4580 issue. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Okay, before I move into just some general how our union works, does anybody have any comments or questions at this point? And Annika, you were definitely listening when I said tasks beyond academic related work. Oh, thank you. Unions are great. Yeah, and thank you. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's fun. And it's nice getting to bargain new collective agreements and see our benefits increase for our whole membership. Okay. All right, so I will move on then. So basically we have meetings 4 times a year in October, November, and February. On the first Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock, we have our general membership meetings. At these meetings, we do things like present the budget. We bring up old business, new business, let the membership know kind of what's going on. If we are in the middle of bargaining, we can't give updates on the details that are being bargained, but we can give updates on kind of the direction it's going. The annual membership meeting is in March, again, the first Wednesday at 6 p.m. And at this one, we have our elections for the executive board, as well as our scholarship lottery, which I will also explain to you. Our meetings have all been online for the last couple of years, obviously, but when we have them in person, we always have pizza and pop, and we encourage you to come out. Everybody who is in the meeting gets to vote on any issues that are brought up. Yeah, I think that's about it for meetings. If anybody has any questions, again, just interrupt me. It's also a great way to get to meet some of your other GAs and TAs. So I'm hopeful that the meeting in October will be in person or maybe hybrid. Okay, the scholarship lottery. So we give up to 5 of these out per year, and they're worth $250. And in order to be eligible for it, you have to send your academic transcript to the membership officer, who I mentioned is at GATAcademy. You have to be in academic good standing. You obviously have to be a member of QP 4580, but you cannot hold an executive position. You have to have held or be eligible to hold at least 1 GATA in the present academic year. So you have to be considered a current member. Even if you're not GAing over the summer, but you did GA in the winter and you're going to GA in the fall, then you're still considered a membership over the summer. You must also be present at the annual general meeting and come to 2 of the general meetings. Yeah, so then basically, however many we get, it goes into a lottery. If only 5 people meet the requirements, then all 5 of them get the scholarship. If there are more, then it goes into a draw. Okay, so when can you start working? As I said, we bargained a new contract workflow to ensure that people weren't getting paid late. So what was happening is they would receive parts of their contract, like maybe the Form 1, or they'd hear from the prof that they're supposed to be GAing for and think that they were ready to start, and unfortunately would start working, but because the contract hadn't gotten all the way to payroll, they weren't getting paid. It was a really awful situation, and it's hard to reach people and tell them don't start working until you go through this workflow, because we don't even know who our members are every time the semester changes over. So the workflow is that your contract goes to the grad secretary first. You'll hear from your grad secretaries when these things are coming due. Then it goes to grad studies, then human resources, and then it goes to payroll. And until it has gone through all 4 of those steps, you are not to start working. Also, you need to stop working when you've reached your hours. And as I said, when there's about 20 left in your contract, that's when you should notify the prof if you think there's still a lot of work to be done and you're going to go over. And the Form 1 I had mentioned, this is something you get from the prof after you've gotten your main contract, and it will outline, say 20 hours for lab work, 40 hours for marking, something like that. It'll break down the full number of hours. So if you're a TA, it's 100 hours. If you're a GA, it's 140 unless you're given a partial GA, which would be 70. So again, that's all outlined on the Form 1. You don't work over that. Also, once it's hit payroll, you're going to see an email that looks like this. It'll say authorization to commence GATA duties contract. Congratulations, and it'll say your name. This email is to confirm the following contract has been approved by both the Dean of Graduate Studies and Human Resources with all legally required documents submitted in their entirety. As of today, you are now eligible to commence work. So again, if you haven't seen this email yet, do not start working. And you'll also see this notification on the My UW Info site, which is where you can look at your pay stub. This will be right on the main page once it's been approved. Okay, so what are your roles as a GA or TA? Again, we said we don't do jobs that are outside of academia, but sometimes I get messages from members saying, you know, the prof asked me to do this. Am I supposed to do it? Basically, your roles could be anything from marking assignments and tests, creating tests or quizzes, worksheets. They may ask you to contribute to creating the syllabus. You may have to run labs or tutorials. You may have to proctor exams. Some profs ask you to hold office hours at a particular time where a student can actually come and sit with you or virtually. You may be asked to give a guest lecture, which is a lot of fun if you're thinking about staying in academia and want to learn how to be a better teacher and give lectures. Then it's a great opportunity. You may be asked to attend class. Sometimes the prof just wants you sitting in the classroom, helping out with people asking questions or having any confusion about the class. And you may also be asked to assist with hybrid format. So for example, the prof may want you to sit in class, but be on the Teams meeting, watching again for the chat or for any questions or confusion. Okay, so how can you get involved? First of all, come to the meetings and have a say, vote on things. If you want to see changes in certain areas, then we want you to come to these meetings. I forgot to mention that when we're doing bargaining, I will be sending out a proposal survey to all the members where you can kind of say, this is what I want you to bring to the table, and try to bargain. Of course, we don't always win, but it's nice to hear what the membership wants to see changed in the collective agreement. So that survey should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I'm still waiting on our current membership list. Being almost the beginning of the semester, obviously it changes again. You can always run to hold a position on the executive board. As I said, we have positions for stewards. You can reach out to do that. We also have 3 trustees every school year that go over the ledger and all of our expenses, all of our income, and make sure that everything is on the up and up and follows the bylaws. We also have our election committee. So when it comes time for elections, we have a group of people who oversee the actual vote, decide what the platform is going to be. Again, with everything being online, we've been doing it through Simply Voting, which basically you just send everybody's email addresses to this company and then they get to vote through their email. It's all very secure, and again, make sure that doesn't go out to anybody who isn't a member. You also have to be at the March meeting in order to vote for the election. We also have, the beginnings of an international student committee. It's something that I had spearheaded, and I'm hoping to add into our bylaws if it takes off. I recognize that international students have some kind of unique concerns and troubles that they come across. There's a lot more paperwork for international students. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong, and I found that they're not always comfortable coming to me because I can't really relate. So I've tried to put this committee in place so that international students have people they can go to that can totally relate to the problems they're facing. Not saying don't come to me if you need help, because I absolutely am here to help. But I did have a few people interested in that committee, and I will be looking for more volunteers when we have our October meeting. So again, if you want to get involved, keep that in mind. And a reminder that we will need a treasurer in October. And I think that is it. So I just have this resources page for you. Again, our website is qplocal4580.ca. and you can reach me through email through the union or myself. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, and of course the people who are hosting this workshop here today, the CTL and the GATAcademy, sorry, the GATA network, you can always reach us through them as well. With that, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I am here.
Thank you, Emily, for your time and wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
For everybody who did attend today, you will receive a follow-up email. Emily, would you like your slides included? Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so you'll all have a copy of the PowerPoint today, and there will be a feedback form for you to fill out regarding the workshop. So thank you. And the recording link will be there as well.
Thank you, everybody who attended.